Hey guys, welcome to another video, Purple Political Talk here, and today we're going to be talking about Donald Trump's silent majority in the 2020 presidential election. Before we get started, please remember to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to be up to date with our latest content. And I also wanted to thank all of you guys for reaching 1,000 subscribers. It's great that we have 1,000 people constantly watching and being up to date with our channel. So, now that we're done with that, let's get started. So, when it comes to silent majority, that is a term that's used very lightly, I guess. Because we won't really know, one, who is the silent majority, and two, we won't know how big it would be. Now, I can tell you this for a fact. If you're a Trump supporter or part of the Trump campaign, and you're banging on these silent majority voters to come out and vote for you, it's something you could bet on, but again, it's not guaranteed. So, when thinking about it, these people, we have to think about them in a grain of salt because we do not really know if they're going to be there. However, I don't know if it's going to be a majority. I can sure tell you there is silent voters out there. A silent voter could be defined as a voter that, one, does not voice their opinions, usually, and they usually just don't like talking about their political views, as well as some of the voters that change their mind last minute. I could consider those voters silent voters. And here's the thing to understand. The number of silent voters during this election has definitely or could definitely go up. The reason being is that at this point in time, in a lot of places, and a lot of employers, a lot of people, they see supporting Donald Trump as a problem. People are getting harassed. People are getting fired from their jobs just because of their political views. Those things really add up to this. And that's what establishes and makes a silent voter. So now that we have all of that defined and knowing there is a chance of there being a silent majority, for sure there is some silent voters, why don't we look at the map and check out what states would really be impacted by silent voters and why would these states would be the most important. So I made two characterizations, and these are all states the Democrats are currently leading in according to the forecast and polling averages combined. And so we have the very important states which Donald Trump wants to win the election. He's going to have to carry any of the states in red. And we're going to explain I'm going to explain to you guys what does it mean when it comes to the silent majority. Well, the states in blue, these are states that if Donald Trump wins them, it's going to be kind of his landslide scenario. And definitely a silent majority could narrow down the race. So let's get started by looking at some of the states in red. So one thing we're noticing is going to be the Rust Belt. And this is an area where it's not going to be as surprising of how close and tight it's going to be compared to how it was in 2016. Currently, polling averages and all of that are expecting Joe Biden to win by anywhere from 3 to 7% in some scenarios. In the Rust Belt states of Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And frankly, Donald Trump's going to have to win at least one of these states to win the election. So why are these states important when it comes to silent votes? This is an area of the country which right now it's a political battleground. This is where the election is currently being fought for real. I mean, if you think about it, Biden is focusing a lot of his money on the Rust Belt. Donald Trump is focusing a lot of his time in the Rust Belt, and that's something we've seen over the last couple of weeks. So why are these states important when it comes to silent voters? Because they were kind of the biggest number of silent voters in 2016. 2016 was successful for Donald Trump because he had voters that were expected to go to Hillary Clinton go out for it, especially amongst the white working class. With the economy decently improving and getting a lot better in the area before COVID-19, and generally speaking with COVID-19 response in the state of Pennsylvania, where the current Democratic governor has become under fire a little bit because he was trying to shut down all businesses. All these different things are going to get those business owners and those small business owners and factory workers and working class voters. Those are the people that are going to get fired up by Donald Trump's economic policies. Now, we're currently in a situation where the virus is almost more important than anything else. However, in these states, there is a large possibility for Donald Trump to have those silent voters come out for him. And of course, he's going to need at least, I would say, the same amount to win comfortably. I mean, it could go if he wins narrowly, and which 2016 was narrow, but if it was more narrow, it's going to be a huge mess in those states. And the silent majority is what's really going to help Donald Trump in these states. Again, it's something that we can't really measure, but we could say that in some cases, the effect could be around 2 to maybe 3% at most. So it would be adding absolutely everything. So this, like, I would say a silent majority for Donald Trump scenario is the best case scenario. So we're not going to fill in the whole map right now, but we're going to talk about the states that really are important. So if we take into account that there's about a polling average error of 3%, we could expect a 2.5% increase due to the silent majority. It's about 5% like error, I guess, to get like the silent majority number. So we could say that Donald Trump could be leading in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Minnesota, Florida, Arizona, even Nevada, if there was a silent majority scenario, and that's how we would measure it. And in 2016, I mean, we saw essentially a silent majority come out for Trump. Will that majority come back again silently? We don't know. And I know a lot of Trump supporters have started to get a lot more fired up for the president, and they're getting a lot more excited. And at the end of the day, it's going to come down to, one, how Donald Trump paints the Democrats and how good he can defend himself from the attacks. That's a big thing about politics. And if he can keep his temperament, which I would say, looking at Donald Trump's temperament over the last couple of weeks and how he usually reacts to different things, he's been a little bit more calm than usual. And that could be because he's trying to get a lot more independent voters. And a lot of these silent voters end up being independents because they're very flip-floppy in some scenarios, which, it's good because then you get to think with your own mind and you're getting, you're not getting told who to vote for because you're a part of X or Y party. So these states, we could definitely expect some changing, especially since the economy has been performing very well and all of that. However, what about the other two red states, where our states that are characterized as important silent majority states for a Trump victory, Florida and Arizona? These are two states that are currently in reach for the president. And the reason could be that, one, however you put it, not factoring Cubans, not factoring where the Latinos come from, all Latinos, no matter the country of origin, President Trump is improving. However you put it, he has improved from 2016. As well as some states where the black vote is going a little bit more towards Trump compared to where it went in 2016. So those are very good things for Trump. He's getting these minorities out to vote, and in some cases for him. So that's going to be interesting to see. So in the state of Florida and Arizona, these are two states that clearly are heavily part of the minority. They have a lot of Latinos and a lot of suburbs. When it comes to the silent majority, if it does end up being a thing and it ends up being a majority, I have an instinct and a feeling with the data we have that the places that will change the most are going to be suburbs. That's why a lot of states like Virginia and New Hampshire and Colorado are filled in, because those are somewhat bigger suburban states. But we're going to talk about the states in a minute. So in Arizona, it's very big suburban area, I guess, near Phoenix and Maricopa County. That's the most important county. And truly, whoever wins Maricopa, and if they win by a nice margin, like a 2% margin, they should be able to win the whole state. That's where the big chunk of votes are. And that is something that right now, I mean, they flipped a little bit towards the Democrats in the midterms. However, with the recent happenings around the country where we're seeing a lot of these protests, and the Republicans, no matter if you agree with what they're saying in their ads, they have done a very, very good job at marketing the protests and marketing the riots as all in the blame of the Democrats, which I'm not going to tell you if I agree or disagree with that. However, politically, it's a very smart move. And the Democrats should start coming up with more ads against the Republicans that would counter the level of ads they're throwing at them. So that was the state of Arizona. In the state of Florida, we're seeing something else very interesting. Hispanic support for Trump in this state specifically, where a lot of the Cuban voters that used to vote Democrat have started to vote more Republican. And most Hispanics, and not regarding the country of origin, support for Trump has increased. some more drastically than others. In the state of Florida, it went from being at about 30% to being at 50% in an A-plus voter in Marist. So that's going to be something interesting. So in this case, we could say the silent majority for Florida, it was the Hispanics. But one big group of people that Trump is really going to rely on in 2020 when it comes to the state of Florida is going to be those suburban voters in Tampa, Miami, and Orlando. These are areas of the state that really have a lot of suburbs, and they're being divided. In 2016, there was a lot more support in these suburbs, especially down in Miami, for Hillary Clinton. All of that support, a lot of it is gone. They're still winning because it's a very historically blue county, heavy blue county. However, margins are going definitely down for the Democrats in these suburban areas, especially in Miami and in Tampa. Now, you have the older vote, which is a big part of the Florida electorate, especially in Central Florida. Those voters are leaning a little bit more towards Biden this time around, which is interesting. So we're going to have to see how important that becomes, because there's going to be an issue here. The Democrats could gain as much older vote as they can, but if they don't carry the Hispanic vote by as much as they did before, it's going to be very, very difficult for them to win the state of Florida, because they wouldn't be coming back from a 150,000 vote deficit. If somewhere around that, and they would be coming down from almost to 300,000 vote deficit, which is a lot of votes to make up. So that's something to keep in mind. And in these states that are filled in red, for Donald Trump to win here, silent majority probably will have to be very important. And these are states that truly are going to decide the election. And in the states that are filled in red, I have, without a shadow of a doubt, no, there is definitely a lot of Trump silent voters, because they just don't want to say it out loud, for the reasons I just explained. So those states are the most crucial, but what about on the lower level, which they're still crucial and everything, however, they probably won't have as big of an impact. These are states like Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, Virginia, states like New Hampshire. These are states that have some type of the Latino population, which again, the effect is not going to be as big as we see in Florida, because nationwide, Donald Trump's gone up by Latinos, but something like around 5 points. So it's not a huge gain from 2016. At least for the polls that we have. But the suburbs are here what I want to focus about. Especially in Virginia, Colorado, and Nevada, that have really big suburbs. And New Hampshire even, that really votes like a suburb, if you think about it. These states are, and these cities that are suburbs, these are the people that are going to have the deciding factor. And these are the people that could essentially be the biggest core of Trump's silent majority if it does end up existing. These voters might be a little bit afraid of the Democrats, just because of the fact of their big support of the protests in certain areas and not calling it out. Again, that is what the Republicans are making the Democrats seem like, and it's definitely working in the minds of some voters, and that is changing their minds. So the suburbs are going to be somewhat crucial, especially with these protests. If these protests weren't here, I would say that these suburbs would be pretty much locked down for Joe Biden in most areas. However, things are changing, because these protests at first really helped out the Democrats, gave them a lot of momentum. They painted Trump as someone who was racist, but in reality, it's coming back and biting them, because Donald Trump has, one, been able to dispel all of that, and pretty much, I would say, has done a very good job at running ads and getting into people's heads that this is all the Democrats' fault, which, politically speaking, that is a good move. Do I agree with it as a person? I'm not going to get into that in this video. However, I would say it's a pretty good move when it comes to politically. So when looking at a Trump silent majority, it's not impossible. I would say silent voters do exist. I think at least a silent minority, because there's still going to be, I think, higher turnout for Trump, or higher turnout than expected. However, I will say the following. For President Trump to win, the silent majority will have to be a thing. And at this point in time, I'm a little skeptical if it's definitely going to happen or not, but I can for sure tell you that a lot of voters are quietly going to vote for Trump, because they believe in, they disagree with some of these things. And a lot of people are getting mind-boggled, I guess, by some of these protests and riots, and the defund the police movement, and like brutality on police. And that very, very, very big mess we can see is going to affect this election. It didn't do much in 2016. It did affect it a little bit, because we had a similar movement in like 2015, early 2016. However, in 2020, these riots and protests have been a big part of your election. And I think we're going to see a big correlation of silent majority and voters that were afraid of riots and afraid of defending the police and those different things, because these are voters that are the ones that essentially decided the election, the suburban voters. And at the end of the day, that message of keep the police, all those different things is really appealing to them. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications to stay up to date with our latest content. Again, I really want to thank you all for reaching 1,000 subscribers. I will do a live stream pretty soon to kind of celebrate that we got to 1,000 subscribers. And tell me what you guys think down below in the comments. This is a topic that's very wish-washy, and that's what I think on it. I think it really could happen in some scenarios, but it's not guaranteed. And if it does happen, there's certain areas of the country that really would be affected. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. So please give it a huge thumbs up, like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Hope you enjoyed the video, and goodbye.